So for your fourth and final assignment for PBIS, we're going to take a look at how important adult interactions are with students. One of the major trainings that all of the staff across the district have had when they did their PBIS training was they learned how important it is, or how important the adult conversations are. One major premise behind PBIS is that it is not for students. PBIS is actually for adults. And so today we're going to focus on conversations that we have with kids and how we have the power to change the child's state. One example that we talk about when we train staff is the concept of a student being like a can of soda. And if we shake the can of soda enough, the student, by the time we open that can, it could explode. So we want to try to keep that can nice and calm. We want it to obviously not explode once we open it. Think of this situation. A student comes into school 15 minutes late, and once they enter the front door, our natural go-to, or when they enter the classroom, our natural go-to is, "You're late again. You stink. What's going on here? Why can't you get it together? Come on, we've talked about this a million times," et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we think that by reminding the child how irresponsible it is, that they might actually decide one day to turn it around. Well, what we often don't know is what the child is coming with before they get to us. For example, in this particular case, let's call the student Jose, since we have more than one on this campus. Let's say Jose, what we don't know is that Jose this morning woke up on his own. Mom didn't wake him up because she was hungover. And so he woke up on his own. He decides that, even though he's running late, he's going to try to make it to the bus because obviously mom's not in a condition to drive him to school. So as he's getting ready and he runs up to that bus, he sees the bus drive by. So he heads home to try to get on his bike. He's going to bike to school, and bike's got a flat tire. So he decides, all right, well, I'm going to walk down. I know there's a public bus that goes past my school. So he gets on the public bus. He gets close enough to the school where he can walk here. And lo and behold, he makes it into the building 15 minutes late, but he's here. Now, had we said, "Hey, we're so glad you're here today. Thank you for joining us. We're going to have to keep working on tardiness, but we are so happy you're here. Let's get you started. Let's get you up on the right track. Did you eat breakfast? Can we get you something to eat?" That would be a better conversation that would help keep that can from being shooken, because obviously Jose has had enough of a bad morning where we don't need to add one more thing to his plate. When we think about that all day long with our students, we don't know what they're coming with. We don't know what's going on at home. For those of you who work in the front office, you see that there are many times that things are happening outside of school that would affect a child's ability to be successful or be in their aim game because they've just got a lot on their plate. So the challenge for you is to think about the interactions that you have with kids. Instead of something like, "Hey, knock it off," what we want to do is say, "Hey, thank you for being on task," or "Thank you for whatever it is that we're looking for." We want to point out what they're doing well. And if they're not doing it well, we can point it out. "Hey, remember, the school-wide expectation is to keep your hands and feet to yourself," for example. And then when we see them actually do it, even if it's just a few minutes later, then we reward them right away to reinforce what we just taught them. So as you're out and about in the cafeteria, in the hallways, when you have students coming up to you in the front office, the thing that you're going to want to focus on is that we're trying to encourage the behaviors that we want to see and point out what the behaviors are that we want to see if they're not doing it the right way. So instead of saying, "Hey, no yelling in the front office," it could be something like, "Hey, remember that we want to be professionals and use an appropriate tone when we're in the front office." So you see how the interactions that we have with students really do make or break the difference. Again, the facial expressions, the way that we talk to them, the tone of our voice really does matter when we're talking to teenagers. Your last assignment is to think about an interaction with a student or something that you've experienced yourself where an adult maybe used a tone or intervened in a way that wasn't appropriate. And what I'd like you to do is reflect and think, how could this have been handled differently?